I came as soon as I got the message. What's up? I know you knew about Mike Sano. We were implementing his plan and something went wrong. What happened? So, we started everything, and I placed him in the transporter to keep him alive because of the stasis field, and then I went to beam up the subject, and everything seemed to be going good until it froze up or something, and I tried to abort it, and it looked like he was beaming back, but then he was gone. I told him something could go wrong. Anyway, I'm assuming that you kept the coordinates on a backup and you're not asking me to help you recover them. Yeah, we have the coordinates, but the transporter is fried and it's not like anything I've ever seen before. I was hoping that I could borrow your transporter to go out looking for him. Give me the coordinates. I ought to transmit them to Maverick. Aye, Master. What's wrong now? It's an uncharted world. The agency doesn't allow transport there without extreme vetting. My transporter can't bring you there. Damn it! Whoa, slow your roll there, bucko. I didn't say I couldn't help you. I happen to be a whiz at fixing transporters. I've had to MacGyver this thing enough times, so I can basically fix anything. Good luck, I've been working on that thing all morning. I have an idea. How about you go relax, review a movie or a book or something, and I'll see what I can do with the transporter. Good idea. Welcome to How to Fix It. Things are a little bit hectic here, I'll explain later, but for right now, I just want to review something simple and nostalgic. Let's talk about The Simpsons. No, wait, don't click off yet. Well, if I still have your attention, The Simpsons is one of the longest-running animated sitcoms ever. But naturally, that comes with a caveat. That caveat being that the quality has decreased over the years, and for the most part, I agree with that sentiment. The older episodes are usually better than what's being put out now. However, one thing that not everyone can agree on is when the decline started. Some people argue that it was Season 8, with the too meta for its own good, the Itchy and Scratchy and Poochie show, though most people tend to pinpoint the decline started about half a season later, with Season 9's second episode, The Principal and the Pauper. And Simpsons fans in the audience already know where I'm going with this, and if they don't, I'll give you a hint. Armin Tamzarian. But when I saw this episode as a kid, I actually rather liked it, and for a while it was my absolute favorite Simpsons episode. And I know everyone's already said their piece on this, but if there's any episode of The Simpsons that had the potential to be really good, it was this one. A huge status quo change that could have impacted the series for years, and seeing how long it's ran, even decades to come. But of course, none of that happened, and as far as Simpsons fans are concerned, the episode is non-canon, even having been seemingly struck from the canon officially as of season 26. At the time, the episode was the most hated episode ever, being called cheap, idle storytelling. So let's take a look back at this almost 20-year episode and see if the episode is really as bad as everyone says, and if it is, could it have worked? Or is the concept inherently flawed? Let's find out. This is The Principal and the Pauper. The episode centers around Principal Skinner's 20th anniversary celebration at Springfield Elementary, where nearly the entire town comes out to honor him, but in the midst of the celebration, it's interrupted by a man, played by Martin Sheen, claiming that he is the real Seymour Skinner, which Principal Skinner doesn't refute. In fact, he confirms it. Skinner, the one that we know, is actually Armin Tamzarian, a street punk from Capital City who, when given the choice between jail, the army, or apologizing for his actions, took the army. He was assigned to Sergeant Skinner's platoon, and Skinner takes him under his wing, with Tamzarian coming to see him as an older brother figure. During a scouting mission, Skinner is seemingly killed, declared missing, and Tamzarian, because he was so devoted to Skinner, took it upon himself to break the news of his death to Skinner's mother. When he does so, he finds that he can't break the news to her, and she doesn't want to believe it, and so he assumes Skinner's identity, living in his house, and achieving Skinner's lifelong dream to be the principal of Springfield Elementary. Skinner, meanwhile, was trapped in a POW camp, then traded to China as a slave laborer, making sneakers until the UN broke up the factory and sent him back to Springfield, where he finds his life having been taken. Tamzarian agrees to return everything to Skinner and leaves town, but it's a tough adjustment and no one is really happy, including Marge, Miss Krabappel, and Skinner's mother. Despite the fact that Tamzarian wasn't really her son, he was a lot more respectful to her and she wants him back. They take a trip to Capital City and convince Tamzarian to return home, sending the real Skinner away on a train as Judge Snyder tells Springfield that everything is to go back to normal, and no one shall mention the events of the episode ever again, under the penalty of torture. Status quo changes aren't inherently bad. Steven Universe has made a habit of constantly challenging their status quo and changing things permanently. I mean, the show that started as a fight against random monsters became a fight against Homeworld, and then a fight specifically against the Diamonds and their kind. We discover that some of the characters that we know aren't exactly who they claim to be, and some problems aren't even solved at the end of the episode, not being solved for 3 or 4 episodes after. I know The Simpsons isn't that kind of show, but why can't it be? I'll get to that later. I think that the status quo change actually helps the episode, because we had an earlier season's episode be an exploration of Skinner, and this one gives us another distinct look into Skinner. Tamzarian. Okay, I'm just gonna call the real Skinner, and the fake Skinner Tamzarian for the rest of the episode. And I like the idea of finding out that a character that we followed since the beginning isn't who they say they are. It creates mystery and intrigue, sort of like in Doctor Who when the Time Lords were a mysterious force that the Doctor only mentioned when it was relevant. I could have watched this plot develop over the course of several episodes, or even just as a 2-parter. I'm always interested in finding out secret backstories, so I would have ate that up. Talking more strictly about the episode, it's well written. There are a lot of funny jokes. When rewatching it for this review, I had some genuine laughs at the jokes that I've heard 1,000,000 times. Up yours, children, just never gets old. It's also a great character piece for not only Tamzarian, but also Skinner's mother. At the time, she was just a controlling mother character, but in this episode, she has depth, showing that she really cares for her fake son. It's also another great look into Tamzarian, but I feel like this gives us a whole other level for him, as opposed to the earlier character piece in Season 5. And like always with The Simpsons, the voice acting is top-notch, though the star of the episode isn't any of the regulars. It's Martin Sheen. His voice is exactly the voice that the character needed, and it's a shame that we'll probably never see real Skinner again, because I just want to hear more of Sheen's voice acting. According to Internet Reviewer Law 348, Section 5, subsection 17, I am legally required to inform you that the show will return after these short messages. I am also legally required to tell you that we're back, in accordance with Internet Reviewer Law 348, Section 6, subsection 3. There's a whole host of logic problems. How does Tamzarian just assume Skinner's life? Did Skinner have no friends before Vietnam? Do they even have the same blood type? It raises a lot of questions. They explain how Mrs. Skinner lets him get away with it, her pretty much knowing that he's probably not her Seymour, but what about everyone else? Does he go to the doctor? What if he got sick? His medical records would be wrong. This isn't even like, spoilers if you haven't seen the CW Flash show, Eobard Thawne taking over the life of Harrison Wells, where Thawne had future knowledge, super speed, and science gadgets to fudge the fine details. There's a lot of stuff that goes into this that they don't explain. Aside from logic problems, I feel like the episode was too rushed. I feel like we don't get to see enough of the real Skinner to really have a reason to want Tamzarian back. He seemed like an okay guy to me. Maybe if the episode was a two-parter, we could have gotten some good character interaction. Like, what about real Skinner and Superintendent Chalmers? Tamzarian and Chalmers had a lot of interaction over the years, but we barely see real Skinner and him together. And the same thing with real Skinner and Willie. I think that was a missed opportunity. And I'm not entirely convinced as to why we need Tamzarian back. Don't get me wrong, I like that they bring the old Skinner back at the end of the episode, but the episode doesn't really present a Springfield which is worse off for losing Armin Tamzarian. Even Edna, Mrs. Skinner, and Marge don't really have a lot to go on except that they miss the old pushover Skinner. Maybe if it had developed over the course of 2 episodes, we could have gotten some real reasons to go back to the old status quo. Keep to their guns and do it. I know that The Simpsons is episodic and doesn't really do arcs, but what if instead of just pretending it didn't happen, have the 2 Skinners try to coexist? Lots of comedic potential in that, or at the very least, expand it to a 2-parter. Give us some character development with Chalmers. Maybe Chalmers goes to the school to check up and tries being all annoyed at the chaos, but real Skinner runs a tight ship and everyone is behaving. Even Bart and the bullies. Every time he starts to shout, "Skinner!" he finds that everything is fine and nothing is amiss. Despite it all, Chalmers actually misses the chaos that Tamzarian couldn't handle. Add to that Mrs. Skinner missing the pushover son who spent all his time with her, and Miss Krabappel who misses her on-again, off-again boyfriend. They might have had a real case for bringing back the old status quo, and it certainly would have made me care enough to want it back at the end of the episode. I mean, the premise was intriguing, and I think that it could have been extremely well received if it had lasting effects. The fact that everything goes back at the end when we barely had time to explore the lasting ramifications is a disappointment to me. Come on, Simpsons writers, give us some excitement. Screw the reset button, take risks. I'd even give extra points if it was declared canon, and even though they still called him Skinner, everyone knew he was Armin Tamzarian. There's not that much I'd change about the actual plot to make it better. I'd just expand on what's already there. All the tools are there, they just weren't used to make the best episode that they could. But they could have been. And that was The Principal and the Pauper. Was it good? Well, I liked it. It's not a perfect episode, but it's sure as hell not the worst episode of The Simpsons, and I hardly consider it the catalyst for the decline. Could it have been better? Oh, hell yeah, but what we got wasn't that bad an episode. With a few changes, I bet all the backlash and the subsequent decanonization of the episode might have been avoided, and this episode would be fondly remembered as a classic, up there with Marge vs. the Monorail, Mr. Plow, and Who Shot Mr. Burns. Yes, it should have been expanded into a 2-parter to really get a sense of the complexity of the premise, but I can't sing the episode's praises on its own enough. If you're one of the people who hated it when you initially saw it, maybe when you're done watching this video, go back and watch it again with a fresh perspective, and maybe you'll find that it holds up a lot better than you remember. Anyway, that's all the time we have for today. If you'd like to see more of how to fix it, you can hit that subscribe button, and if you have any comments or complaints about the video, you can put those in the comments section below. And if you want to get notified about new uploads, hit that bell icon. And if you enjoyed this video, show it to your friends and share it around the internet. And maybe consider supporting the show on Patreon. I've got a friend to save. See you next time. Is it ready? The coordinates are locked. It's a pretty faint signal, but you should end up pretty close to where he landed. Let's do it. One more thing before you go. I want to warn you that there's a chance that he might have reverted to an earlier form, and so he might not recognize you. Try to take it easy. Got it. Iota, energize. Energizing. Mike, say now. What the? Who the hell are you and how did you get in here? Oh, sorry, I thought you were my friend. Say, did you notice anything strange happen around here in the last few days? Aside from you, no. Now, if you would please get the hell out of my house so I can finish my work, I would very much appreciate it. I just need your help locating my friend. He's about, yay high, lab coat, goggles. Now, will you please leave me alone? I am very busy, Michael. How the hell do I know your name? And why do I suddenly have memories that aren't my own? Iota, authorization code 3X497. Mike, say that? Michael, I don't know what happened. I was being transported and then I was here, but I wasn't in control. I don't, What is happening to me? It's a long story. Come with me and I'll explain everything. Iota, 2 to beam back.